Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by Refracted Curvature, 10th Man Rising, Matthew Eastman, Neil Cosentino, the Adam Meakin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome one and all.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hello.
Let's get it on.
Morning.
Good to be here.
Also, your show number seems to be wrong. Droid said it's supposed to be 84 or 94.
That's
94.
Definitely pre-show stuff, but thank you for mentioning it. I will get it changed. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge that's a horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
No,
Any evidence for anything globe-shaped?
Has anyone seen Taboo's latest video?
Yes.
Yep.
Beautiful. I need Tony to get. It's like the old days, getting out Google Earth and plotting the points, but like the old Isle of Man.
Well, somebody has done work on it already, and it was probably the most concise work he's ever done at 10 minutes long, which was Brian. Have you seen that video?
No, I've only just caught Taboo, so I'll catch up, Bryce, with them. I assume he'll share it with me this afternoon, but proper mind blowing, mate, in terms of any evidence. Because even at that, you see how the numbers stick out. The distance to the horizon, even at that height, was only 74 miles, and 49 miles hidden. It's the thing that came to mind, Nathan, was you just going, no, that's just Mont Blanc. I can just see it. But even that one I found amazing that it does appear to be, doesn't it? Certainly the size. It's just outstanding pick. And is that what the question? Is that a ball destroyer to you? Is that sufficient evidence?
In the face of a ball claim, I don't know, man. In my comments on Brian's video, I just immediately started calling people bitches and saying Black Swan.
Well, years ago, I'd have been buzzing at this and thought you think it was the best. And there's still part of me that's really chuffed. But this part of me is like, how do you use it, really? It's just an absolute wonder, is the way I'm viewing it at the moment.
Wait till you hear Danny Falkner on the Black Swan. Oh,
It's not at all other than to say, look here, ladies and gentlemen, the Earth is obviously and observably flat.
you don't know about refraction. That's why.
Okay, that is where you step in and you can annihilate the globe. Right, exactly. So you need a positive assertion to work off the back of, Adam. As opposed to the Black Swan image itself, where it's just a tool. You know, it's a means to an end in an argument. Well, unless you are prepared to have me jumping all over your case saying we see too far, you just stand there and go, there it is. I see it because it's there. The Earth's obviously flat. That's it.
I have something with the Earth curve calculator. That's a positive claim.
Is it going to be flat Earth positive? Let's have a look at what's going on here. Let's see. Go on then.
It's a differential calculator between eye level and sea level, where sea level meets the sky.
That's flat Earth you're describing then. So you're saying it's a flat Earth calculator, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Because it is. That's not a joke, ladies and gentlemen. The differential Earth curve calculator is Earth curve in name only, because it's the difference between two flat planes, eye level and surface level.
Yeah, I'm still not having that. Carry on.
I mean, you're not having that. That's
I
what it is.
I saw Brian's video. It was good because it's his response to flatzoids, Mont Blanc.
He's preemptively saying this is what ballers have got to say. I think he came out at 351 over 6R with the refraction calculation. Well, you know, Brian's preemptively saying, what other explanation have they got? So hence, off the back of him saying that they've got to say refraction and here's the rate, my response, black swan then. So what about the angles? It's quite convenient that we've got these two different positions concurrent, is that right? Concurrently running at the same time, basically. Which is to say, oh, it's really, really refracted. And the straight line angles that we correct with, it's like, hello, I tried to do it with an old video or a trimmed out bit from Simon Dan back in the day when the Black Swan first came out. Here's Black Swan rebuttal from Simon Dan. It's all refracted. Pretty serious refraction. So got to be dealt with. There's atmosphere. There you go. Okay, so we're clear about the position. Always atmosphere. Always refracted. Okay. So what about these angles we're talking about then? They're straight lines. Never
That
achievable.
don't count.
Go on.
It's extreme
They're always
refraction.
straight line. They're always straight lines to a point below surface level. Really?
But not for your average glurf, because your average glurf doesn't have any straight lines ever. Not just on the surface, but with any line of sight to anything ever. It's never straight.
Can you have a bent line of sight below surface level?
In terms of the calculations that they're asserting, no. Upon declarations of refractions to geometric positions that aren't visible anymore, they annihilate the straight lines needed for the geometric assertion in the first instance. Now, it's only been 3 years, but that's pretty much what we've been telling you when we say, oh, refraction, bye-bye globe, and they look at us with a blank expression. Yeah, now that we've got both arguments running concurrently, you can hopefully recognise it if you're really stupid and it's taken you this long, 3 years. That would be to say,
Well,
on the one hand, you've got a geometric horizon you're doing dip corrections with. Now, that geometric horizon is being pointed out by John, exists below surface level in a differential calculation. Now, meanwhile, you're also telling us, after telling us about the straight lines you're correcting for angles, about how bent they all are in the atmosphere. Sphere-shaped air never to give you a straight line. Can you see the problem here? Probably not. 3 years is a pretty long time for people not to get this.
well, even a bent line will never get a tangent up to surface level. That's not possible.
Right, perhaps you could just repeat that for Professor Phil Bell, MC Toon, and most of all, the poster child for this, which is Roofy. Yeah, how's that geometric horizon working out for you? Roofy, do you want to remind him what the problem is, John? Go ahead.
Well, whether you want to assert it's geometric or refracted, you're still asserting it's below surface level, which makes it not real because the horizon is where surface level meets the sky. Either way, you're wrong.
When dip correction is needed, it's measured at dock at height of eye above sea level. So if you're in the middle of the ocean and you measure 10 feet, where your eyeballs with the section would be above the water line, and now you're in the middle of the ocean, are you telling me that this 10 feet is now below surface level, way down in the horizon?
Only in the maths.
It's an impossibility. It's just the height of eye destroys them because the dip correction is just you got to get your eyeball as if you were doing the sextant reading from the surface of the ocean. And that's why you know it's 10 feet before you even go out to sea. And so what John is saying is if it's the differential between what their math is saying, well, that's below surface level. But the height of eye is surface level to the eyeball on top of the boat, not from below surface level. So it just falls apart.
No, that's not their math. It's differential between two flat planes. They don't have any math. It doesn't
No, not
exist
for
in
that.
the math.
That's my point of contention. You can only apply that clever critique of refracteds to the dip to the horizon calculation. The actual point of the geometric horizon, the Earth curve calculator, as it's incorrectly named, is just literally a geometric function that helps you define the two planes that they're going to try and differentiate.
Alrighty then. Unless there's
It's
any more comments.
important. I know that might have gone over some heads, but it's important, particularly when we're arguing with Ruthie, which is what I'm doing. So I just got 3 points he wants me to keep answering. He's killing him, this, Nathan. He's killing him.
Yeah, no. 3 years.
Adam, you're not making any sense. Number 1 point. The distance to the horizon formula is the correct formula for modelling the globe, true or false? Well, I say false. It's not a correct formula for modelling a globe, certainly not modelling a viewing of a globe. It's literally just a 2-dimensional geometric formula for calculating tangent lines based on the height of a height of a stick above the surface of a circle. That's what that formula is.
Just for clarity, we're dealing with the last of the dregs of the stupid on the globe side. What's a tangent, just for clarity at this stage, Adam, please?
With a point of intersection with the surface of a straight line.
A straight line to a point at the surface. Okay, so it's straight. That's what tangents are. You're getting this down, Rufy. You got a pen. How's that geometric horizon?
And so I won't bore you with the middle bits because it's just a bit technical. But the third point he's making is the curve calculator correctly models the hidden amount. And I've said all I can say to him here, because see what he's trying to do, he's trying to crowbar this geometric truth, which I have no problem with, because I will say, yes, from a geometric point of view, that's exactly what the title, the curve calculator, does. It models the hidden. I've done it myself, wrote a formula for it to do it in the 2-dimensional geometry of circles, lines, tangents. That's what it does. But what they're trying to do, you see, is use that as some kind of calculating tool for when we observe things in reality. And that's why, fundamentally, years ago, you called it right. Perspective hijacking. Proof of nothing. Earth curve calculator is its point. It doesn't do anything. It's got no bearing on the Earth unless you've got an R and you are invoking a black swan. But fundamentally, all it is a geometric calculation. That, like I assume what Brian's done, that is there to excuse reality, so to try and comport reality into their ball, and that's all it does. Is we said why we see too far, how much of those straight lines bending is what it's trying to work out, and that's how Brian comes up with the last one. I was 3040 over 6R, and that's what they do in their maths to try and comport it to reality, because they have no perspective. All they can do is expand their ball and make it flatter and flatter and flatter until their value excuses what you see in reality.
Yeah, well, no, because in order to have or to make those apologetics, they're using a tangent-based calculation to apologise for seeing too far. Correct?
Correct.
So they'll need a tangent then, won't they?
Yeah, but their lines are bent.
Yeah. Their lines are all bent.
How many flat spots are there on a sphere to make it flatter?
None.
This is the point, isn't it? It's taken them 3 years. 3 years to get to the point where they recognise that by telling us that the line to the horizon is bent, that's the black swan rebuttal from the Glurf side, then you no longer have your apologetic calculator, which is based on tangents. 3 years. Unbelievable that it's taken them this long to figure out why it's so wrong and how it fails. So, you've got a tangent point to the horizon. Allow me to introduce to you Simon Dan, who's going to tell you precisely why you don't have a tangent from back in 2020 when you started responding to the Black Swan.
Of course, there is some serious refraction going on here, assuming that there is no atmosphere at all.
So, are we going to assume there's no atmosphere? Like Simon Dan says? Or are we going to assume that there's some pretty serious refraction at all times? It's standard bent lines always. So given you've got standard bent lines,
Serious refraction.
then you're going to have a problem with tangent calculations to make apologetics for seeing too far. Meanwhile, we don't see too far as flat earthers. We don't need to explain this. It's like many things that we seem to have been forced into a corner where we're told that we need to offer up an alternative position. Well, what's going on at the horizon then? And foolishly, we launch into investigations into diffraction limits. Totally unnecessary. What's that you say? Why is Mont Blanc visible? Why are you asking that? Enjoy looking at it. Yeah, but we need to explain why we can... No, we don't. Not as flat earthers. I see it because I've got eyeballs. I need to explain why I see it. I open my eyes. There it is. That's the end of the explanation. What, it shouldn't be there on a globe with tangent-based apologetics and calculations that can't function because everything's always bent? Oh, that's a pity for you. Me, I just see it because it's there. No explanation is required. Okay, anything else on tangent-based calculations?
Just a contrast. It's nice to have all these long-distance proofs. But just the black swan alone, with a known distance to 2 oil platforms, did him in.
Serious refraction.
But, you know, on top of that, when it comes to level, they'll assert that sea level is curving, but eye level is a plane that you can draw angles from, which they really need to rethink that, because that can't be full.
But that's why they have so many horizons. They got the sensible horizon, which is the astronomical horizon. And then they got the real horizon. And they got, the one that's from the center of the earth. So they have to play this game of parallel planes, horizontals, and just stack them on one on top of another and put a globe in there. And then you have all these lines. And then they confuse everybody about it.
Well, in all fairness, that is how they got confused to begin with, measuring the differential between flat planes. That's how they built that curve that they think exists.
Right, because you pre-assume a globe, so now you got to go do some math with pictures to match the math. And, okay, so that's how it works out. So it's like Eratosthenes saying, all right, I'm going to measure the shadow of this stick, and it's going to tell me what I live on. Okay, well, what do you live on before you go start this thing? Oh, I believe I live on a sphere. So I'm going to do everything to match my sphere. In fact, I'm going to say that light is coming in parallel because I need that to be for me to do this.
Yeah, but even the assertion of parallel rays requires you to measure the angles of the shadows off a flat plane.
Exactly. That's why it's a destroyer of all of what they got.
Yeah. The Black Swan was the end. It's just taken quite some time for them to realise it. Cognitive pain is obviously a troublesome thing when you're trying to believe you live on a ball. Because you're going to find...
Some people haven't realised yet.
Yep. Only been 3 years. Okay, right, so we're going to cover this video. So Flatsoid, shout out to you. He covered this a couple of nights ago, I believe. And we're going to do the same now. So Flatsoid suggested this, but I am. Please let Danny Falkner know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. So in the live stream chat now, there is a link going by to the video that we're going to be covering, which is called Flat Earth, Dr. Danny Falkner. And it is on Cavalry Fort Knox channel.
He's speaking in a church. So if you're going to write this, you're writing to a church's website. But if you want to reach Danny, you're going to have to find where Danny's at, which is Answers in Genesis.
Okay. Well, either way, don't stand on ceremony. Go to the channel and let them know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, because we're going to be covering their, what would you call this, a sermon?
No, there's no sermon at all involved.
Okay. Either way, this is what we're going to be covering, so please let them know we've covered their video. Obviously, leave them a nice comment. Be respectful, as always. Hopefully, were there to make a response, not that we're suggesting they do. In this instance, it doesn't make any difference who you are as a YouTuber. If you were to respond, I'd hope you'd do the same and put the link to my video in yours. So share the algorithmic love. Okay, we're going to get going, so...
Makes, or that north celestial pole, that angle it makes is equal to your latitude.
Flat Earth required. Man, we've only been playing for 10 seconds. Latitude, he's drawing out an angle with his arms. That's 2 straight lines, meeting at a vertex. You'll need a flat baseline to do this, Danny Falkner. You've just proven a flat Earth within seconds of me pressing play on the video. Now, in this instance, because we haven't actually got to the 29-minute mark and my panel are very keen to cover this video, for the most part, other than me pointing out that straight off the bat, Danny's proved a flat Earth with an elevation angle description to get latitude. Ding, 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 flat Earth required.
I thought you were having a go at Bev.
Yeah, well, let's not bring Bev into this, right? Bev's on our side, and his misguided assumptions about not having any use for angles to only then contradict himself to say, quote, you know your latitude with an angle measurement to Polaris. We'll leave that to one side just for now, and I'm hoping you on the panel will respond now in the next 5 seconds after we go over the 29-minute mark, because obviously there's something juicy that we want to respond to.
For around the arc, it's a little less than 39 degrees.
Sorry, around the arc? Degrees around an arc? No, I'm pretty sure angles are 2 straight lines meeting at a vertex, not one meeting an arc. What he's talking about there, I think we're going to have pictorial examples. Right, we're right on the 59-minute mark. I'm going to try not piping up from this point forward, okay, guys?
But if you go farther north, it's going to be higher. If you go farther south, it's going to be lower. Let me illustrate what's going on. This green circle represents the Earth, and then you've got this vertical line going through it that represents the rotation axis of the Earth. And so if you extended that rotation axis of the Earth up above and down below, that would intersect the sky in the north celestial pole and the south celestial pole, and Polaris, or the North Star, is really close to that point. For the sake of argument, let me just say Polaris, or the North Star, rather than the north celestial pole. Good enough. Now, halfway between, that would be the equator. That's your line there. And let me pick a location on the Earth, say the arc encounter, and right there, I'm going to draw a line.
Hold on. Anybody notice that he said on the Earth?
Yes, he did. He thinks he's in the center of the Earth on the Earth.
Oh, Danny, your diagram quite clearly describes dissecting the Earth. And the angle that you have drawn comes from the centre. But you said on the Earth. Now, you're in a church, and you're lying to the congregation. Because what you're drawing is not on the Earth. So you've lied to a congregation full of people, Danny. May God have mercy on your soul.
From the center of the Earth to that point up on the surface of the Earth.
Sorry, from the centre of the Earth. A moment ago, it was on the Earth. Tricky with words. Obviously, with a Christian audience, you'd expect him to be of the utmost sincerity with what he says, not try and be deceitful with his words. So now we're in the Earth. Getting this angle, are we, Danny? Burning in the fiery hells of the molten iron core to acquire this lying angle. Is that where we are getting the angle? In the fiery, hell-like core of Earth, Danny? I'm going to suggest not. Nobody's getting angles from a hell-like molten iron core.
And I think most of you would recognize from school that the angle between the equator that I drew, the horizontal line, and that second line I just drew there is equal to your latitude. Again, I suggested this by...
Yeah, that's your latitude being measured by way of elevation angle measurement to Polaris, with the baseline being the ground. It's not measured from a centre of a presupposed spherical Earth and isn't only possible at the equator if you're going to try and infer that the line that you're on is the equator line through the axis. How can that be possible? It isn't. He's also made it clear that we're in the Earth taking this angle. The angle measurement that he's actually described is a possibility. You can take your latitude measurement to Polaris, or gain your latitude from an angle measurement to Polaris. But that is not taken from the centre of Earth.
this, it's a little less than halfway. 45 degrees would be halfway. And you can see it's a little less, so it's close to 39 degrees.
When you're in hell, it is.
No. What he's showing is the celestial sphere model, and ignoring that that's the flat plane that bisects it is the earth you're stood upon. And he's saying instead of it being the earth you're stood upon, you're actually inside in hell. It's ridiculous. And it's the most sacrilegious thing I've ever heard said in a church.
Well, I would like to focus on that for all of the congregation who may be watching this and have been told by way of commenters who can tell them that Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. You are nodding along to a man telling you that you're measuring angles in hell. That's what he's telling you.
From hell.
From hell. Yeah.
Yeah, but okay, so there's 2 slides of Master D, so we can show some visuals of what the real angles are, elevation angles. You can go over them. Lose you?
Sorry, I was on mute. On screen now, we've got an elevation angle measurement, and you can assume that the star is Polaris. Well, if this is an elevation angle measurement along a flat baseline to give you the 90 degree here, and it's at the GP, that's ground position of the star, that your flat baseline is meeting for the angle measurement in the first place, then this is a flat earth proof. It's not taken from the fires of hell. It's taken from the surface. There's no conversions. There's no moving it to any equatorial planes. There's just an angle measurement to Polaris off a flat surface. It can only be done off a flat surface. It wouldn't have 90 degrees to the base of the line that you measured for the angle if it was curved, because it wouldn't be an angle anymore. And I'll say it again, it's not being taken from the fiery cores of hell. Second diagram.
In a moment.
Just one more. If you're going to assert that the surface that you're measuring for the ground position, which requires 90, as shown on Danny Falkner's diagram here, then the surface, which is where you're actually measuring this from, would have a bendizontal baseline that wouldn't give you 90. However, in reality, you do and can, and this is done daily, measure an angle off a flat baseline with 90 degree to, in this case, the base of Polaris, to give you your latitude on a flat Earth. Go ahead, John.
I was going to say in a moment, he's getting ready to put a tangent plane on top of a sphere and say that defines the horizon, where the tangent plane never touches the sphere except at one point, which will be interesting.
Now, if you're standing at that end of that point, the Earth is going to block the view of everything to the lower left. You can see everything to the other right. There's a plane that's tangent to the Earth at that point, and that will define your horizon.
So why are we having to utilize planes, and how can we have a tangent plane coming from hell when nothing will be on the surface of this tangent plane because you're claiming the surface is the globe shape? Why are we drawing out new surfaces that we're not standing on to claim that we are standing on surfaces that we're also not standing on because we're at the fires of hell, measuring angles from places we can't be to give us a second tangent plane surface? Yep. The lies we weave.
Horizon. Let me just suggest what it looks like there a little.
Yeah, he said to give us a horizon. No. A horizon's where the ground meets the sky, or the surface of the water meets the sky. That's what, this isn't a horizon. Anybody watching this in the church going, yeah, I see the horizon that I know and love on this diagram, represented in a way that I can easily understand it to be a line from left to right, if I can see into the distance. Yeah, this is just what it looks like, eh, Danny? We'll just reiterate again that you're only doing this so that you can move the angle to the fires of hell and create a new flat plane on top when you're claiming that we're taking it from the surface, also in the surface, with your deceitful words.
Little circle there. Now you see on the edge, it's going to be kind of foreshortened. And that's going to be your horizon. It actually would extend.
That's going to be your horizon when you get your angle from hell. Your horizon, if you're a congregation member and you're a realist, is just the line that is represented from left to right when you look out into the distance. It's not the angle from the fires of hell creating a tangent plane on a sphere. Because Danny told you so.
Out way up
Yeah, that's stuttering. That's Satan. That's Satan coming through his tongue.
above to the upper left.
Same thing yesterday.
Yeah, he knows he's lying. That's why. Can't be concise. Because he's got the devil in him.
Left and to the lower right, but I'm just showing you that. And the sky does have a dome-like appearance to us. Doesn't mean it is a dome. It's just the appearance we get. Because when we're looking in the sky, things are so far away, we don't have depth perception. Everything in the sky appears to be the same distance away.
Hold on a second. How does he know?
Go on, Adam.
You can't call it two ways. So in their world, in the Bohr world, there is no depth perception. There is no angular adjustment for distance. The only angular adjustment is because of Earth curve. So you can't have it both ways, mate. There's not one fraction of a minute of a degree that's attributed to distance in their way of understanding this elevation angle. Not one bit of it. It's all in ours because it is the co-angle is the distance in nautical miles, and therefore it is an understanding of perspective of two flat planes. But in their model, every angular change is attributed to Earth curve, not the distance. It's just how many angles that Earth curve is bending you to adjust the angle to the star. No perspective. Done.
Okay, so for a slightly more detailed version of what Danny's trying to describe here on screen now, we've got what he's trying to represent. Now, we have in the past called this the globe burger because you're drawing out a flat plane with the celestial sphere as the bun on top of a globe Earth that's redundant. So now he's got himself a nice flat plane that he can slant at an angle comparative to this one, so that you don't recognise that what you're actually doing is this. You're taking a perspective measurement of a star as it drops towards the horizon off a flat plane, and the arc of the tool as it would move towards the horizon as you measured it will give you this dome that he's describing. But the angle measurement's just being taken off a flat plane to a light in the sky. Isn't it angelic how simple it is? This is what he's giving you.
On screen.
Go on.
Is kind of exemplifies the ludicrous. Oh, it's just gone. If you can just go back to the one with the globe balancing the celestial sphere on the top. There's a number of contradictions in their model that happen there. The first one being that you see the celestial equator. Wait, well, yes, that's I suppose what you are seeing, but that isn't what you see because they take it to the center of the Earth. So what that flat plane, it either has to go, as you've been saying, to hell, to the center of the Earth, or in reality, it actually bends. So if you're on the North Pole, you're actually seeing all the way to the equator, the actual true equator on their ball, that distance. But it is a flat plane, but it's curving around the ball. And that's why that becomes nonsensical. And so the only way they can kind of resolve this is to bring that flat plane away from where the observer is, sat on the surface of the ball, and bring it to the center of the sphere. That way, the maths will line up, and also the stars will line up with the opposition. Because as you can see there, you limit part of the sky. You have a number of angles you lose. You lose distance to certain objects. This is part of the impossibility of the moon phases. It's not possible with that celestial sphere balanced on the top. You have to drag it to the center to make the ball Earth commensurate with reality. In terms
He just denied that, though.
I know.
He just denied that, though. Like, he's saying that the spherical model is not what we see. If I misunderstand the flat plane I take the measurements from to come to the center of the Earth, that's not what we see. That's what he just said.
That's correct. So just for summary, we need a flat plane. And the reason we need a flat plane is because this is how we take the angle, off a flat plane. Okay, so he's gone through his little do-si-do, take you to hell, readjust the angle, project it out through the spherical surface you're no longer standing on because you're in hell, out to a new flat plane, that's this, that's commensurate with working with angles to the sky, that's this. Now, to confuse you, it's stuck on its side, but this is a flat plane with the ground correlating to 90-degree angles to your position out in all directions along a flat plane. Now, you've got to go through those steps of taking you to hell so that you can continue using a flat plane for angles, because that's the only way they'll work, but have a little redundant ball below it and have it on its side so it's not recognisable that you're just using a flat plane tilted on its side. Anyway, let's go back to his diagram. Oh, what do you know? It's exactly the same. You at hell, projecting out a point that's the angle that you measured from hell, to a single point tangent plane that you're not standing on that will be commensurate with the angles when plotted on this flat plane that's not the sphere you're standing on or in. Okay, we're all clear, Danny?
Nathan,
Yes.
can I comment on the following slides I put there? Go to the one with the teeter-totter, please.
Okay, it's up.
Okay, so this is what Nathan's saying. The navigator with the sextant, which is an angle measuring device, needs straight lines. You need this right angle triangles because you got a minus 90 from the zenith position of the star to know the co-altitude. And so it's impossible from a curved surface. So you need a flat plane to do that from. That's why they always take you to the center. Go to the next slide where we have two images of sextants. So as you can see here, this tool is designed for a particular reason. And you can see it's going to have two mirrors on it, and you bring it down to the horizon. Go to the second slide of that one, please, of the sextant. You can see it's pointed to the horizon, and you rock it until you get the vertical or the zenith height 90 of the sun. And there's tons of videos on this. So this tool right here can never work from a curved surface. This tool only does elevation angles for the celestial GPs from the horizon up. And that can't be bending for it to work. So that's why they do everything from the center, which is hell, where this whole lie came from, because it's not the truth. Now you go to the next slide, and this is from a Navy, U.S. Navy site, and it's showing you how on a battleship, how they got to do it using the sextant and, getting angles. Okay. Now, if you go to the one right after that, where it shows the center of the Earth and then that tangent plane on top of the dingleberry, you can see how they start confusing people. I don't know if you're on that one right now. And then follow that one up with the other Navy slide where it shows the sextant to the left and the reading and the Navy ship, showing you how to get an elevation angle. Again, I'm going to finish up with two comments at the end of citations. Tell me when you're on the first citation. Okay. All right. Altitude or elevation. These are synonymous for the angular, and notice the language, angular height of an object above your horizon at any given point, moment. When a star is on your horizon, not center of the earth hell, but on your horizon on Earth, so that it is either just rising or just setting, its altitude or elevation is 0 degrees. That's horizontal flat baseline right there. And when it is directly overhead at the zenith, its altitude or elevation is 90 degrees. Keep in mind that this is an angle, not a physical distance. Okay, now go, and that came from, next slide will show you what book that came from, Fundamentals of Radio Astronomy. We'll go to the last citation. Angles, not distances, are the fundamental astronomical measurements. Angles are used to define points on the celestial sphere by using the system of coordinates discussed below. Angles, not distances. And that's from the ballot of the planets, mathematical elegance of planetary motion. They're just doing themselves in the minute you do a little research. I'm done.
Right. In terms of distances for Danny's assertion, to get you from hell back to a flat plane that's actually utilizable for these angle measurements, off the flat plane, he's projected as an umbrella over hell at the center. Well, Danny, this is disgraceful, because as soon as you infer a distance, you've got one, an R value, the one we debunked in 2020 with the black swan. So you're inferring distances where the citations make it specifically clear that it's only about the angle. And the only angle measurement that Danny's got is coming from hell. Moving on, unless there's something else someone wants to add at this point.
I'm pretty sure that it's a Christian teaching that as above, so below, as it is on earth, so it is in hell. I'm pretty sure that's in the Bible somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm standing here, if I look at the object over here and over here and over here and over here and over
From hell, because those are where you're getting your angles from.
here, and they all seem to be the same distance from me, that defines a hemisphere, doesn't it? Very easily. Doesn't mean they're that.
No, the perspective view of an angle measurement from your zenith, that's at 90 degrees. If you were lying on your back on the ground, the star would be above you if you look up, right? As it moves towards the horizon and you measure its angle, the angle measurement tool would present itself as an arc. Does that mean that the star's moving in an arc over your head? No, but that's how you represent it in a perspective manner. Yeah, this would be the arc of the tool. Yeah, in the same way as when you're describing how you take these angles, what you have on screen from 10th citation is a tool with angles on it. Well, this, although now upside down, isn't the dome of the sky. It's how we're measuring it with angles. But flip this over and call it a dome? No. No, definitely not. Definitely not when you're taking an angle from hell either. But in either event, what you can then reify that into is the celestial sphere when describing it in model form. The representation of the sphere itself being you at one position with the angled declination towards the sky as the star moves. Obviously not in the case of Polaris. But that's an angle measurement to represent perspective, not an actual dome in the sky. Or an umbrella over hell.
That far away just means we lack depth perception to do that. We only see in 2D when things are far enough away we can't use our stereoscopic vision of our two eyeballs. Now I could draw a line from my position on the Earth there parallel to that rotation axis. And then I can draw another line that's tangent to the Earth right there. That would represent my north direction.
So according to him, your north direction goes off into space along a plane that isn't the surface of Earth. So you're seeing out up here. Well, what do you see at the limits of your view? Your horizon. So he's saying the limit of your view is up here on the edge of this tangent plane. I've stuck to the bottom of a redundant sphere when I took an angle from hell. No, the edge of your vision will be represented by the horizon based on where the surface ends. But in this diagram, according to him, when you turn left and look at the horizon, what you're doing, you're looking up directly up towards the axis of a sphere Earth that's redundant because it's not the plane of this tangent that is drawn out.
Just on, so this is the ridiculum again, because where he's marked north is actually on the flat plane. You see, it's on the base of that circle, which is the flat plane in which all the mapping's going to be done on. And that north still makes sense on a 2D flat map describing everything, even with relation to the stars. As soon as you try to balance that map on a ball up, then north becomes ridiculous. Nothing is no longer the two ways of describing. You've got your north, south, east, west, and then your ups, downs, and your star angles. They're no longer compatible. North and south step out of this now. It becomes a three-dimensional relationship, which is not expressed on the flat plane.
Well, hold on a second. Hold on. You say, hold on.
Go.
I just don't want to get criticised from the commenters on the Glurf side, especially when you say incompatible. But that can't possibly be the case because all of the maps and charts are using non-Euclidean geometry. They're not Cartesian, are they? They're spherical.
No. Charts.
I mean, no.
North's correct on a chart.
But, sorry, are you saying that on a chart we wouldn't be doing it from the centre of hell? We'd just be using the flat plane, and north would be north, up would be up, down would be down.
Yeah. So the GP of the star can be expressed on the two-dimensional paper relative to your position, and that will be true just as much as the North Pole could be expressed as a place in a two-dimensional on the chart. As soon as you try and balance that chart on the side of a ball to make it make sense, north becomes nonsensical. It's no longer relevant on the chart.
No, you missed my point. But the charts are balanced on balls, aren't they, Adam?
I think in some people's minds that's what they think. Well, no, because ultimately, no, they're not doing that, are they? Because they're having to drag the chart to hell. They have to take it to the centre for those positions. But like I say, even then, North doesn't. Look, take that same line he's took with North, look, and now drag it to the centre of Earth. And where's it pointing now? Not pointing at North. Because it becomes a three-dimensional position now, North, and not on the 2D chart anymore. You can't represent it anymore if you're going to try and put it there. Even if you keep the flat plane and drag it to the centre of the Earth, it has no description on that flat plane at the centre of the Earth anymore, North.
So what you're saying is, even if you drag the flat Cartesian charts and maps to the centre of hell, they're still going to be referencing north in the same way. It's still going to be requiring a flat plane for elevation angle measurements and drawing out circles of equal elevation on the chart. So even if it was dragged to hell, the maps are flat because they need flat baselines and elevation angle measurements to work with them. So the maps are all flat Earth maps then. The charts are all flat Earth charts then.
Correct.
Isn't that interesting? So is this waffle from Danny Falkner for a congregation not in reference to how we actually navigate should they get lost? I mean, is this just so we can convince them that they're in hell as opposed to having a practical application? Because what you're saying is the practical application with maps and charts is to use it on a flat plane and not do any of this bit where you get to hell to come back out again and use a flat plane that's redundant with regards to the sphere you think you're standing on. It's just to get these people to hell. It's not to save their life if they were navigating then.
Well, what they're trying to do, Nathan, is they have to make everywhere that's a vertical, everywhere that's a perpendicular vertical to their equatorial plane is north. So because what they're doing is, this is why I always ask Proto and any of them the same question: where did you get the arc length? Because what they're trying to do is turn what is a horizontal measurement or distance measurement in reality into an arc length from the center of their globe. And that's what they're trying to do.
That's correct.
But
so you've missed the... But Brian and myself, for that matter, aren't particularly religious. However, Brian's only just joined and, we've got to get some of the sentiment into Brian just so he's up to speed. Okay, Brian. I know you sort of brushed past the fact that you said doing it from the equatorial plane. You just need to rephrase that slightly to doing it from the fires of hell. Can you do that for me, Brian? Thanks.
Yes. Sorry, Nathan. When they're doing it from the fires of hell, every north is every direction straight up. There is no angle to north because their north is a very, very huge Polaris, and that's their north. That is ridiculously big in size and light years away. So when they're doing it to north, they're everywhere from their plane of hell is everywhere in a straight vertical line up from that, a perpendicular line from that is north for them. Because they need to make a point.
Brian, can you just point out where you mean up off the page?
Well, they need to point up to a particular point on the celestial sphere from their plane of hell.
The equatorial plane. Let's just clarify that because I want it clear because you're sort of, you can say the equatorial plane, which in this context, in this church, is the fires of hell. Equatorial plane is this in his diagram. This line that you'll have to stand on to get the angle. Well, you're at the center of the equatorial plane when you do that. That's what would have the dome of the heavens around it, which I described earlier as the perspective view, which I've got from Brian in terms of my consistency of that description, right? Well, that dome of the heavens around the fires of hell is the equatorial plane, basically. Yeah? So that's why we're going to, from this point forth, whenever he's describing angles that are taken to, quote, the dome of the heavens or the celestial sphere, then that is, quite literally, for these Christians in this context, from the fires of hell. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I mean, when they, I'll be very quick, John. When they reference the celestial dome, the whole point of the celestial dome is so they can orthographically represent perspective. That's the point of, that's because it's all based off of the protractor. So that's what they're actually doing. It doesn't mean that the star is taking an arc, because it's not. It just means that that's the only way to represent it from a perspective point of view in orthographically on a piece of paper, right, as a way of describing, right? That's all it is. So what they need to do is make a point on that celestial dome from their equatorial plane via an angle that originates from a horizontal surface and is then brought down, right? And then a step one, make the measure the angle in reality, right? That's step one, across the horizontal plane we live on. Then you take it down to their equatorial plane of hell, in this way, if we're referencing Danny Falkner, and then their that point that it makes on the celestial dome orthographically, that then becomes a 3959 circle, circle, a radius mile circle, and then that then is their arc length. That's how they work it, because they need to be able to show an arc length. That's what they need, and that's what they have to do.
This is why it's probably the best time. On screen, we've still got the guy and the field of vision, the celestial sphere lot, is you can see where it's positioned and what part of the sky is available to the person stood on the top of the ball looking. Okay, and you can see stood on the top of the ball, less of the sky is visible than if you were able to see the sky from the center of the ball. And this is what Stellarium does, and this is why they have to go to the center of the ball, because if you were stood on the surface, then your vision of the sky modeled wouldn't be what you saw, because you see more of the sky than you should be able to do stood on the ball. So the only way to make reality commensurate with the ball celestial sphere model is to place you in the center. That way, Polaris will be seen on the horizon, or stars will be seen on the horizon in the correct relationship to the ball Earth. But if you keep yourself on the surface, there's stuff below the horizon that you will be able to see. And that is solely a consequence of trying to force it onto the ball. The sky, what you see in the sky, the only place you can see it is also at the center, because it's the only point where that much of the sky is open to you. Does that make sense in terms of how they have to convolute it and what the net impact is? And this is why when you get to the impossible moon phases, where they are possible to do on Stellarium, this is why they truly are impossible, because you wouldn't be able to see below your feet. As John often points out, that part of the sky becomes impossible to see in reality if you're on a ball, but actually it is available to see you in degrees, which would take you to the equator from the pole. But you wouldn't be able to see it if you were stood on a ball, which is why they have to take you to the center and map it from there and say that's what you're seeing. I'm repeating myself. I hope that point's made.
Can I make it for you or help you with it, Adam?
Good morning, guys.
Good job.
Morning.
What Adam is saying is that with the flat equatorial plane, you have the limit of 0 to 90 or 90 to 0 that you have with reality. But if you are stood on the top of a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, then you will see more of the sky because you're not limited by the horizontal that's straight out from underneath your feet. Because you don't have a horizontal to limit you then, because the horizon is dropping below that horizontal. So when I make the point that dip correction requires the water at the horizon to be in a horizontal with the water underneath the boat, is because it does. Whereas if we were on a globe, right, that horizon is never going to be horizontal from the water underneath your boat, which means that you will have more of the sky. You'll be able to see more of the sky below what is your horizontal if you're stood on a globe. That's another reason why they need to use the equatorial plane. Is that your point, Adam?
Yes, simply, yeah. Another way of putting it, it's trying to excuse what we see in reality, which wouldn't work on their model, and how they have to pervert the model and where you claim to be stood to make observations of reality fit to the model.
In all fairness to them, dealing with the reality of a flat plane is like being in hell. So maybe that's where they're getting confused.
And with that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you who liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a member, and all that good stuff. And of course, a massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on an after show, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!